And welcome, everyone. Welcome so much. Appreciate if you take your seats as we start to get ready. We have a wonderful lineup of 12 readers. And before we get started, welcome to New York's historic LGBT Center. Let's begin with a living land acknowledgement. Wherever we are in this moment, we acknowledge and pay our respects to the unceded land, the ancestors, and the current inhabitants of all indigenous peoples. In New York City, we are standing on the island known as Manhattan in the Lenape lands. We also honor the ancestors of the enslaved who were brought here to build this nation, as well as all of our own ancestors, those whose wisdom we can learn from, and those whose mistakes may teach us how to heal, how to repair, and how to build for a better future. This acknowledgement demonstrates a commitment to beginning the process of dismantling the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. Art and culture are essential to our recovery from the pain of COVID-19. To support working talent, New York created the City Artists Corp, giving away $25 million to create public cultural events as we emerge from the pandemic. Yay, that's where woo! So register a grant, 12 members of this year's Lambda Literary Fellows will share 5-minute selections of their work. Some are here in person at the LGBT Center. Others are joining us remotely from Zoom. We'll hear from 6 writers. We'll take a 5-minute break, followed by 6 more readings. A huge thank you to the New York City Artists Corp, whose grant made this event possible. To Lambda Literary, especially Executive Director Sue Landers and Program Manager Nicole Shawan Jr. To the LGBT Center, especially Sam Kylie LaRoche and Gabrielle Farofalande. To event producer Tracey Y. Smith, to tech director Will Arredondo. To American Sign Language Director Charles Reed, right here, and to his colleague Juana Aguilar, whom you'll see in a minute. To the 11 amazingly talented writers who agreed to join me in sharing their art tonight. And finally, to all of you for attending. Hope you enjoy the show. And now to our first performer. An expansive multimedia artist and educator, Doctora Xingona's music, poetry, performance, films, and gatherings center transcendence, kinship, and the co-liberation and nourishment of queer and trans artists of color. Welcome, Diana.
Hello. It is my pleasure to be here this evening. Thank you very much for the invitation. I am a genderqueer Chicanx human. My name is Doctora Xingona Diana Alvarez. I have light skin. I'm wearing bold red on my lips. I am wearing blue velvet, and I'm holding a cherry-colored Gretsch electric hollow body guitar that I'll be using to accompany me performing this song, queer love song, from my multimedia show Quiero Volver, a Chicanx ritual opera. I love your queer hair. I love your queer mouth. I love the songs you write. I love the mountains you hike. You are a poet in the water. You are a stone with edges. You are a familiar prayer. You are the sound of fire. Don't let them take you away from me. You heal the wounds of our mothers. You smash the rules of tyrants. You and your queer body I love your queer smile. Don't let them take you away from me. Don't let them take you away from us. We want more queer music. We want more queer love. We want more queer justice. We want, we want. I won't let them take me away from you. I won't let them take me away from us. I love my queer body. I love my queer hair. I love the songs I write. I love. Thank you. And now I will read, I will introduce our next performer, Ariel Estrella. I just need to expand. Oh, I hear some claps. Thank you so much for that. Ariel Estrella hails from Queens, New York, and is pursuing a PhD in literatures and English at Cornell University, specializing in queer of color lyricism, visual art, and aesthetic practices. They are fat and Latinx and pale-skinned, brown curly hair ends at their shoulders, and they wear silver hoops and chains and rings. As they read at a measured pace to assist with accessibility, speaking animates their body in brash gestures. Welcome, Ariel.
I breathe long, 1, 2, 1, 2. I breathe to share an invitation that is not so much a confessional, but a note of an occasion, of a circumstance, of a revelation. I breathe to witness a welcome to the space. Someone real beloved to me walked through the separate door tonight for her first time. It is my deepest honor to be here beside her as she comes into the community in this particular way, because I remember my own first time walking through these doors and what that meant to me. To bring her here with a gift, as I am just a humble witness of her brilliance and bravery. So welcome, my friend. Welcome. I speak for all of us when I say this. You are cared for and loved here. We got you here because we as a community are built from fragments and secrets. Breathe in, breathe out. Are you breathing? Are you breathing? It can be hard to be us, but we still out here living and loving and navigating the world with our queer ass selves, proudly celebrated within our every breath taken in, out, in, and out. I can think of no better way than to spend my 5 minutes welcoming this girl. Because I stand here breathing because you saved my life this year. As you know, lately there's been a lot of bullshit going on in my life. But with your words and your kindness and your vulnerability, you opened up the world for me. You reminded me that I faced struggles before. And if I hadn't pushed through them, I would have never met you. I would have never been able to love you and be inspired by you and make art with you. I stand here alive. I stand here alive and choosing I stand here as a promise and an archive of every moment I could have chosen otherwise. I stand here breathing in and out. I stand here breathing 1, 2, 1, 2. I stand here because of myself and my mom and my brother. My therapist, and also my meds. Shout out to Churchill and Melvin. Yes, but looking at this last year, it's you, kiddo. You deserve your own shout out because you gave me a tomorrow to reach for, because I had to continue being the person you look up to, even when, or maybe especially when, I forget I can have an impact on this world. You tell me all the time that I've changed your life. And tonight, let me tell you though, you changed mine. And you will continue to change mine, because I have to see you come into yourself as I feel I have since I first walked through the center doors so many years ago. No one can trace the thousands upon thousands of moments and decisions that brought you to this space. But at least in cupped hands, I hold a valley of my commitment to you, that I will be here for you as a witness, as an auntie, as a friend. I love you. And here, let me count our breaths together. In, out. 1, 2, 1.
Hi, everyone. Ariel, that was absolutely gorgeous. My name is Mimi Templestt. I am a light-skinned Black woman. I have my hair in a poof, and I'm wearing black lipstick. The name of this poem is called The Delicacy of Embracing Spirals. The delicacy of embracing spirals duplicates a foreign tendency to graft a landscape. It dizzies itself to become peer pressured, grows through movement as time, the foot following the other makes steps sound like wind howling. All I ever had was a roundabout draining of the concept of a mind. A brain bears logic where magic decides to leave the room. I'm barely in my body. I forget to conjure a here. I hone frequencies out of possibilities masquerading as Sundays. I take up space. I take up moons. I swallow ecstasies. I grin big and forget a face is what trains the world's eyes to fancy allergies. A meteor crash of a serious self, like how drunk and high and heartbroken the streets gonna leave me every weekend. Laugh at the minstrel showcase of a conscious being. Who you gonna be today? The tenacity, fingering fiction of the human condition, whose face you gonna sing today. Linger to bellow without teeth, aligned to a cosmic counseling. Fly not to think, blend not to blur. The lines of irrefutable irony, the x-ray of a melancholic poet, drug-addled, drunken demon, dreary, drowning, desperate without cause. Who you gonna be today? Greet them at the astral. Tell them it was all a lie. Tell them that this form is a second. Tell them to dread the spiraling, to enhance the spiraling, to force the spiraling, to manifest the spiraling, to embrace the spiraling, to distract the spiraling, to ride the spiraling, to stop the spiraling, to obliviate into madness and laugh at the fickle trickster who knows when to disappear into it all. I forget to laugh about the descent. The sane self, the same questions, take it all too seriously, the iridescent subject, the channeler and the menace and the griot, the society and the society pondering back at itself. Brisk a dozen talks only to kill the self. I was never here. I am never here. The here is never here. The moment counts down to consent. Singularity in the electrodes of a heart monitor, charred teeth, charred soul, frozen nodes of fate awaiting the weight of its own feather and heart. Who you gonna be today? At the center of infinite, the body proclaimed a Black girl child. Each phase of puberty pronounced the testimony of humanity, yet the audience wasn't sold on the performance. Perchance, power be in the hands of the child. A pistol trigger warning, the child wields an entity of fury through gritted teeth. The eye be collapsing, a primordial judgment to step foot on porous ground, philosophical unto extortion, burning passion into extinction, violent for preservation. Be the rage, don't perform it. Wear the rage, don't let it get stuck. Tap dance the rage, don't break. Fiend the rage, don't fantasize. Surrender the rage, don't personalize. Drift the rage, don't escape. Stir the rage, don't let it build. Father the rage, don't feminize. Become the rage, don't let it transcend you. Lie only to tell the truth. Be human always, but godless to your enemies. Be an enemy and reveal your palms to none. Appeal to no one, and let your greatness parade for the masses. All the forces testifying to make me spit on laps. Forget that my gums have been numbed for a pair of 8 weeks. All my foes eroded to bloodlust. These tasteless and variant attempts to haze my spirit go make an emperor out of me. I never needed nor wanted an in the first place. No Machiavellian setup can humble the God behind my tongue. Who you gonna be tomorrow? Reveal too much, say nothing at all. Fish for compliments in a sea of sharks, dress finely only to let the wolves rip you to shreds. Prance in their clothing every Sunday, become a dusted metaphor or two, pretend to be a writer. Fancy yourself a rock star, scoff at the ridiculousness of a principled poet. Hear the spoken word slam, yet barely speak at all. Disappear in the key of destroy flat. Gaslight their imagination. Gaslight your mama, gaslight your friends, gaslight the city, gaslight the you that plays clown on stage, gaslight the audience, gaslight your sisters, gaslight the one man without a soul who claims to be your father, gaslight the city again, gaslight the angels, pretend to have a name again, gaslight the angels again, gaslight the angels again, gaslight the angels again, again, keep going again and again and again and again and again, again, and then hide in the symbol of the nucleus, transcend the spiral, die fiercely to be born again. At the center of this third eye, a monarch butterfly exercises the feeling of you to be deified out of chaos. Honor the softness that craves to emanate from you. I care enough to love the spectacle of myself. Charred innocence lingers its eyes into slumber. Camouflage youth impertinent to maturation, fly north to eucalyptus. Forget the former version of a soul's territory. Aim to shoot upwards at the sky. Build this life as a temporary home. Chime exhales. Brew a prolonged death. Cry for no more here and what was and what is and what migrates, a landscape of endless topography. The shape of me conquers into regeneration. There are no values that are stationary in this grace, just an ounce of face, daring to smile itself into oblivion. In order to heal, you have to accept a close proximity to annihilation. My nearest deathbed looks a lot like his eyes. Know when to depart from ego, destroy it to rebuild a framework composed of lotus bloom, and let your cynicism dissipate into magic. Thank you. I'm so honored to announce this next reader. Anthony Green is a Black queer writer, director, educator, and sexual health advocate. Originally from Memphis, but resides in DC, Anthony founded Cage Birds Productions, which affirms Black LGBTQIA storytelling. Welcome, Anthony, to the stage. And thank you for having me.
Adjust your mic to get it really close to your mouth so they can hear you on Zoom, please. All right. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Good. Hello. Keep it, because the people on Zoom need it to be closer. It may sound unnaturally loud here, but they need it for the Zoom. No problem. All right.
right, so I am Anthony Green. I am a masculine presenting, brown skinned individual in a black turtleneck and gray sweater. I will be reading tonight from my original choreo poem, A Colored Gaze, inspired by the legendary work of Chang. And this first section is called A Bloody Sticker. The first time you cut me start the worst. I'd expose my insides to you, my mother, yet you dismiss me with a quick, as long as you don't get AIDS. A sudden jab that barely cut the skin. No blood was lost. From there, the sharp remarks dug more routinely and deeper, as long as you don't look gay. Clean, precise incisions that broke open exactly where intended. You sliced through scabs, spots where I calloused. I grew numb to the hemorrhaging. As long as you don't walk like a girl, I engraved myself with your razor. Never ruthless enough to shank the blade into you, pierce your soul straight to the bone. Strike directly at your jugular like mother, like son, leaving raw pounds of your flesh on the ground, watch you bleed out. I beg you to make your wounds mortal. Don't simply nick me just enough that I feel it. Scream out that I disgust you if you truly love me. Please, jam the knife into my heart. It's more humane than another gash into my back. All right, so this next piece is called The Other 15 Years. I see him everywhere I go. He's the limp-wristed waiter sashaying over to our table. He is the effeminate cashier, or even the church choir alto disguising his falsetto into a mock baritone. He's that scraggly teen camouflaging his switch with fitted hats and Nike, humming Beyonce while the other boys nod to Jay-Z. He is the other sissy in the room. To the queen in me clocks the queen in him. Yet, but we don't exchange pleasantries. A duel of evil eyes amongst brothers, battles of shade between sister lanes commences our unspoken civil war. Yet we don't exchange pleasantries. Experience has taught us to judge or else we be judged, that boys like us don't deserve connection. Too much sugar, too much spice, and absolutely nothing nice. To my glare declares him that faggot, that punk, that woman. I strip him of his identity, force him not to exist beyond those disgusting hate-filled labels, that other sissy in the room. When I see him, all I see is me. The way I roll my neck when I'm mad, point my finger to push my point, cross my legs when I'm nervous, or suck my teeth when I'm irritated. He is a mirror that I can't escape, so I throw fists at the reflection. Refuse to acknowledge his grace, respect his bravery, or join as allies in our common struggles. So we waste lifetimes seeking masculinity. We waste lonely nights and late night hookup apps. Get wasted in search of affection in dimly lit clubs, then journey unprotected through the waste of meaningless gratification. See, we are both casualties of war who cried out for hugs and kisses, but got sucked and fucked, who clawed to be loved, but die 1,000 deaths of rejection every day. Yet sissies like us have no time for tears. Hardened by the rejection, we sharpen our wit. Let hatred fuel our flame, stronger than any warrior, more heartless than any Nazi, tenacious enough to be who we are, even when that person isn't in fashion. We protect our dignity like it's priceless and face every day with our heads held high. So high that we sometimes fail to meet the eyes of our own comrades. Thank you. I have the honor of introducing the next speaker. Mary Maxfield is a writer, researcher, and organizer who strives to bridge creative arts, academic inquiry, and social change. Her work includes fiction, nonfiction, poetry, and explores intersections of illness, trauma, and identity. Currently, Mary's a doctoral candidate at St. Louis University, where her research traces local LGBTQ plus communities. Mary's writing has appeared online at Catapult and in print in Sweeter Voices Still, an LGBTQ anthology from Middle America.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for your words and for that introduction. I am Mary. I'm white with side-shaved dark hair and glasses, and I'm wearing a black shirt that is sort of slashed with rainbow colors. I'll be reading some excerpts from a new short fiction piece called Mother Hunger. I was 12 when my mother was born, 12 or thereabouts. If I'd been older, I could have said things like, I never wanted to be a daughter. I don't have a filial bone in my body. Relatives could have tilted their heads at me knowingly, insisting I change my mind. But I was 12, so I said nothing. I had no relatives. I was 12. I had decided. Crumbs from my boxed birthday cake still littered the linoleum. That Tuesday, I'd celebrated alone on the floor of my living room, what 12-year-old has figured out furniture. I didn't have candles, not the right candles, the thin, colorful ones of just the right number and just the right weight. I lit the candle I did have, a large maroon one in a glass jar. I watched the flame flicker in the dark a minute, but I couldn't bring myself to sing. The apartment was cold. In winter, the apartment was always cold. Sometimes I piled blankets on top of myself and stayed under them until the air felt too heavy to breathe. I wondered if the weight of the blankets felt like the weight of a person, if this was what people meant when they said things like nestle, snuggle, safe. I didn't know. When my mother was born, I thought she would kill me. 6 feet tall upon arrival, she towered over me. The other grown-ups in the room looked from me to her and back again. Maybe it skips a generation, they said, shrugging. Or maybe it ran in the family. Who could confirm I'd ever been a baby, even if I'd spent my whole life feeling small? When my mother was born, the state tripled my allowance. The first time I took her to the grocery store, a woman who'd followed me more than once, certain I was shoplifting, teared up talking to me. Having a mother, it's like having your heart walking around outside your body, she sniffed. I know just how it is. I filled the cart so high, I struggled to push it to the register. I bought us bundles of grapes and bags of peaches, knee-high containers of nuts, leafy greens that could double as houseplants. My mouth watered looking at them. My eyes stung. Finally, my belly might be full, my body might steady and warm. I smiled all the way back to the bus stop. My mother and I sat on the bench and I reached into a bag. Let's have a treat, I said, pulling out a package of cookies. I split the shiny plastic and handed her one. She inhaled it, snatching another from my hand. Whoa, I laughed. Slow down. I took a third cookie from the package, but when I bit into it, my mother screamed. She screamed one long, piercing shriek. Shh, shh, I said, but already she was reaching for me. She dug her nails into my face, prying my mouth open. Hey, I said, trying to laugh it off. Stop. She clawed at my mouth. Stop, I said. It came out muffled. She was tugging at my tongue. I gave her the rest of the cookie I'd bitten and she pulled away to eat it, then grabbed the package, clutching it with her lanky, overlong arms. When the bus came, I tried to take the cookies back and my mother shrieked again, biting my arm so hard it bled. They're just cookies, I told myself as the bus pulled away. It doesn't matter. They're just cookies. By the next stop, she had eaten them all. My mother wanted a story. My mother wanted a drink. My mother wanted a snack, a blanket, a hug. My mother wanted a story, a snack, a drink, a hug, a blanket, a song, a story, a drink, a hug, a blanket, a song, a snack, a hug, a song, a snack, a snack, a snack, a snack. I poured my mother a glass of milk. I poured her another. I made her breakfast over and over again. All morning I made her breakfast until I made her lunch. She ate her lunch. She ate my lunch. She ate her dinner and another, a meal I no longer thought of as mine. Each night she snuck into the kitchen. I'd startle awake and find her there, washed with the blue refrigerator light, scooping jelly from the jar or gulping milk. "Come back to bed," I'd say, and she'd scream so loud it would nearly knock me off my feet. She kept growing without putting on weight. Her body stretched above me, elongated like a shadow of a monster in a scary cartoon. The more food I brought home, the hungrier she grew. I ate less and less to try and keep her full. Strange lights dotted my vision. My body grew heavy and weak. The first night we ran out of food completely, I broke down. "I'm sorry," I said. "I'm so sorry. I'll get more tomorrow, I promise." I tried to scoop her into my arms, to stretch myself to hold the length of her. "You're my responsibility. You're mine to care for." My mother leaned into me. I took a deep breath, and she bit my lip so hard it bled. Then she licked the blood from my mouth, smacked her gums, and howled. Thank you. Oh, it's so nice to hear. Thank you. Next up, we have storäe Michele, who I'm so honored to get to introduce. Storäe Michele is a Black, queer, shape-shifting, non-binary femme, Afrofuturist performer, educator, and storyteller. Their creative practice builds a present and embodied archive of Black femme futures and aliveness. Storäe is heavily inspired by badass femmes of the funk era and may be spotted in big hair, leopard print, and bright kaleidoscopic fuzzy garments. Please welcome Storäe.
Hello, beautiful people. I'm Storäe, and I am a golden brown Black femme sporting a corally red fro, wearing a sweater inspired by the Beatles. I will be reading a new poem titled Perimenopause and Other Tangential Obsessions. Sometimes I just want somebody to talk sexy to me. Whisper in my ear, kiss me on my neck and my back, hold me tight, and then get the fuck up off me. Other times, I want somebody to send me unsolicited pics of their various members. Tell me they want me to lick and suck, touch me in the daytime when the sun is warm and the air is cool, and then turn on the TV and binge watch some Netflix. Most nights, I'm restless, only sleeping for 2 hours at a time, kicking covers off, pulling covers on, throwing do-rags on the floor, lying naked and staring at the ceiling. Got the AC and the fan going on at the same damn time, throbbing headaches and hot flashes, sweaty panties and moist sheets. I wake and cringe at bright pink spots. Perimenopause, I swear you come 10 years too early and I ain't ready for this shit. Flashing back about 20, when I was sexy and free, dancing neath neon lights and on top of bar tables, telling folks they can't fuck with this because I just learned how to move my hips. Now, I need somebody that knows the divine moon, stars, and sun coordination for when I'm ready to get my pupsy wet. I get frustrated when I don't have enough energy to touch myself. Too often, I don't want to be touched at all. Where'd that come from? Not wanting to be touched makes me feel uncomfortable, unsexy, un-me. I wonder when I want to be touched all the time. When night comes, I lay awake in my own thoughts, my own paranoias, my forgotten aspirations, curl up in a ball and cry. What am I crying for? Am I crying for the old child inside of me, the young child, the new ones that could be, or the ones that's sitting right there in that moment? What they crying for? Ain't no comfort. Ain't no comfort from the many voices in my head. The daddy voices that want to shame me, the mama voices that want to blame me. You got to pay $1,000 for a therapist nowadays. just to find some peace of mind. It feels impossible. I wonder, did I wait too long? Is it over? Is it coming? And what about when it is too late? What do I do when that day comes? Thank you.
We're going to take a 5-minute break and we'll be back then at 7:40 and the equivalent around the country for the rest of the readings. Thank you to all the brilliant readers who've come so far. Thank you for all that have been here, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. Thanks. We have some water and cookies in the back. If you would like, please eat so we don't have to take it home. Let's all come back now. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for being here. Those of you who are here in New York, please feel free to grab some cookies, grab some water. And now, please give a big round of applause to the executive director for the Lambda Literary Organization, Sue Landers.
Everyone, I'm Sue Landers. I'm a white femme with shoulder length, red hair, bangs, glasses. I just want to thank the center for having us here and the New York City Artist Corps for making this possible. But most importantly, can we get a round of applause for the organizer of tonight's event, Corp? Corp's brainchild, and he's just done a remarkable job. This has been really wonderful. I'll keep it brief up here, but for those of you who don't know about Lambda Literary, the fellows who are reading here tonight, the people who are reading here tonight were Lambda Fellows, which means they participated in our summer writers retreat. This is a very special program offering that is the only writing residency in the country that is exclusively for queer emerging writers. We will be opening up applications for next summer's retreat in November. And I wanted you all and our audience to be the first people to know who our faculty will be next year. So we have some luminaries. Our playwriting teacher will be Jewel Gomez. Teaching our nonfiction cohort will be Alex Marzano-Lesnevich. Our fiction faculty will be Zane Jupitar. Our poet is Storäe Greathouse. And our YA leader is Mark Oshiro. We will also be introducing new workshops next August. We'll be offering workshops in screenwriting as well as speculative fiction. So I hope that many of you will apply. Keep a lookout on our website, lambdaliterary.org, for when the applications open. And if you have any questions about the retreat, feel free to email us at retreat@lambdaliterary.org. So with that, I want to turn things back over to our performers and reintroduce storäe Michele to the stage to introduce our next performer.
It is with great pleasure that I introduce Michael Chang. Michael Chang is author of several collections of poetry, including Drakkar Noir, winner of the Bantu Press Boom Chapbook Contest, Chinatown Romeo, Ulysses Americanus Press 2021, as well as Boyfriend Perspective, Really Serious Literature 2021. Tapped to edit Lambda Literary's Emerge anthology, their poems have been nominated for Best New Poets, Best of the Net, and the Pushcart Prize. Their collection, Almanac of Useless Talents, is forthcoming from Clash Books. Let's welcome Michael Chang to the stage.
This is my book, Boyfriend Perspective. It's available on the website and other publisher, Really Serious Literature. I think it's a really well done book. Very cool. Thank you to Corp, to New York City Artist Corps, Lambda, Sue, everyone, ASL. This is called Life is Gold.
Michael, just real close to the mic so they can hear you.
Okay. Life is gold. On the hottest day of the year, the back of his neck slipped with sweat. I wondered about his collar size, admired his swimmer's build, his getting pudgy sitcom dad face. I like them a little pudgy, their bodies starting to give in to aging. We discuss community so we feel less lonely, talk about our depravity, how you make my sheets smell amazing. We patter on about bars and cruising and safe spaces and swish, debating what archetypes we fit and how convincingly. Our prurient interests provoke contemporary standards. We say beast at the bridge and tunnel crew walking by, never admitting how you make me a better person. Only old timers do that. Our attentions drift like fog. At a couple, we shout, ditch the giraffe. I inhale the smaller boy, take in legs lean and shapely, feel the sourness assault my nostrils like meat left out too long in the village where the sodomites gather. This one's called Happy Warrior. She fell off her scooter staring at me, determined as a drill bit. Don't trust anyone who doesn't drink soda. We want lots and lots of pop. Write poems in my head how other Asians do math. You don't need my help dazzling co-eds. My mouth pretty for when you come to town. So hot you cook an egg on it. So hot sunglasses come out all warped. So hot you get the chili pepper on Rate My Professor. My mother knew better than to pretend leave me someplace. I would have said, okay, peace, I'll let you know either way. Discerning as Shibboleth, daylight savings can't buy shit. I hate that most memoirs are about other people. See how they huddle, pretending to be something they're not. Beef steak, tomatoes. Unpitying boy, I'm going to love you like sweet corn congee. Teach you different ways to say calves like cantaloupes. Make you mushroom soup from scratch. Caress you furry creature. Ditch our umbrellas in a rainstorm. Get soaked like last week's dishes. Dog and Bone is a lazy name for a restaurant. Try the rooster, reluctant poet, and little half-wit who invented the universe. The same grave, the height of ridiculousness. You're lime jello, I'm fruit suspended in you. We hear the excited cries, think he looks good out there. This is called Jacket Required. Dear Evil Knievel, you're a wreck. Dear Messenger, I shoot you now. I have many friends who are white allies. In much of Asia, white is a funereal color. The phantom, the silver fern, a lot of this shit I can't even pretend to care about. The weirdest Hillary factoid is how she carries hot sauce in her Armani purse. You want peanut sauce with them pod crackers. My over-caffeinated ass. Men can also be scientists. Today is Friday. No more but the feeling type stuff. Nonsense, says nothing. I was with a chick and a bunch of bros told me you can do much better. I assume meaning them. If I say their vision for the country is cataracts, is that politically correct? Do we care? What are some words we can borrow from the other side? Snowflake, cuck. Every day a new mood, your lower mouth, your inside job. Go to your mud flap girls, they look spaced out. You compete in your own division. Are you as lovely as you look? This is the writing you've been waiting for. What, wow, it really is you. We'll do one more. This is called Simpatico. 7 nights a week, every line a mic drop feels like Groundhog Day. Sad bunny bathed in blue light. I believe it was Gandhi who said, I'll be nicer if you'll be smarter. Why do people say toe-headed when they mean something else? I never say suck my dick because people will say, okay. In some countries, this passes for food. New love, no such thing. Fondling the troops uselessly MIA. Naked sunlight, imagined openness, stop counting, I'm not 14 lines. Both, neither, who taught you the most about love? If Ivor Winters can rhyme lust with dust, you're probably doing okay. God knows what I'd be without you, very odd in retrospect. We've seen some things, too bad no one asked why you cry so much. Thank you. I just have to introduce our next person. Benjamin Garcia's collection, Thrown in the Throat, was selected for the 2019 National Poetry Series. And I actually read it, it's actually really good, so you should get it. His poems and essays have appeared or are forthcoming in Agni, American Poetry Review, Kenyon Review, New England Review, and many more. Find him at benjamingarciapoet.com. Thank you.
Hi there. So my name is Benjamin Garcia. I'm a Mexican man with long hair parted in the middle. I'm wearing a floral cowboy shirt, and I'm sitting in front of red curtains and some posters from the HIV/AIDS epidemic, educational posters. I'm going to read to you from my collection, Thrown in the Throat. This is a poem ? I published it as an essay, and so I'm reading it as an essay today. The Great Glass Closet. This is not a metaphor. When I say that I lived in the closet, it's because I lived in the closet. You might too, if you shared a one-bedroom apartment with 11 other people and a pet. Mother, stepfather, brother, 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 uncle, aunt, cousin, 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 dog. Then there's me, the surplus. You could have called our closet a walk-in closet in the sense that a child's body could walk in. Mine did, and I called it home. It was comfortable enough, if you were willing to lie. I was. I lived in a confession booth, listening to my own secrets, making my own sentences. Confession. My uncle was different in a way you could see. I was different in a way you could see, only if you were looking. If you were looking, I could see. What I mean is that my uncle walked on crutches, so we couldn't cross the border by foot. He climbed into the trunk of a car, which is a kind of closet. I was like my uncle, and I was not like my uncle. He walked on crutches, and I didn't. Confession. During prayers, I don't close my eyes. Nobody knows this except the other people who don't close their eyes. A life in the closet is a life that's closed. So I opened what I could. Books. I was Harry Potter, the boy who lived, reading about the boy who lived. I had no owl, no hat, no wand. I couldn't cast a spell, and I couldn't spell. But I could see the low in owl. I could pull the hat out of that, and in the word wand find another hidden and. Reading X-Men, I wanted to be Storm so that I could end the famine in my family's village, looking like a badass bitch queen goddess doing it. I knew this was impossible because I wasn't claustrophobic enough. I could never be Storm. I survived too many storms behind a closet door, and I could never change my name to Storm, which at its core contains an or, as in either or, as in Aurora Monroe, Storm's birth name. You must choose, pink or blue, boy or girl, left or right, right or wrong, truth or lie, truth or dare, truth. Even writing this, I thought that feminine shared an A with famine. Feminine, dare, hunger for errors, find another place to stick a man inside. Reading, I learned the difference between cloth and clothe. Also the difference between close meaning to shut and close meaning almost there. Sometimes there's no difference between the past and present, as in to read and to have read. Sometimes there's no difference between the past and present except for the surroundings. You can call this context, or you can call this what it is, privilege. Not living in the closet is what people like me did on TV. But I wasn't like the people on TV, so I lived in the closet. In Fun Home, when Allison and her father see a woman wearing men's clothes and sporting a man's haircut, she says, like a traveler from a foreign country who runs into someone from home, someone they've never spoken to but know by sight. I recognized her with a surge of joy. Dad recognized her too. Spoiler alert, Allison and her father were both in the closet, but they were not in the closet together. My room was a closet for my family's clothes. My clothes were a closet for my skin. My skin is a closet for my skeleton. It won't always be. It won't always be this way, but that's not the same as it gets better. Better requires context. A shell could be a spent bullet or the home of a mollusk. In order to breathe, you have to add the little snail of an E to the end of the word breath. Breathe. Is it not amazing that we are still alive? It's nothing amazing, but in the closet is where I first read The Voyages of Dr. Dolittle. Marooned on Spider Monkey Island, the only way Tommy can go home is to climb inside the pink shell of the great glass sea snail. I lived in the closet, all wall, no window, so that if I turned out the light, it made no difference if I shut my eyes. That's how dark it got. I used to pretend I was Tommy inside the enormous shell, all window, no wall. But what was there to see at the bottom of the sea? Nothing except rare animals that learned under great pressure to make light from nothing but the nothing that they are. It was cold down there and lonely. My breath would fog the shell until I wiped it clear. But I climbed into when the great glass sea snail bowed its great neck to me and let me enter, hoping I had enough air, heading straight for whatever waited on the next shore, like any immigrant would. So thank you. And it's my pleasure to introduce Dale Corvino. Dale Corvino's meditation on kink for the rumpus is popular on Grindr. He won the 2018 Gertrude Press Contest for workers' names. I'm gonna begin this over because Dale, you're wonderful. Dale Corvino's meditation on kink for the rumpus is popular on Grindr. He won the 2018 Gertrude Press Contest for workers' names, a trio of short stories. He profiled queer Chilean writer Pedro Lemebel for the Gay and Lesbian Review. His essay about growing online constraints appears in the book 1996. He contributed a chapter to the Routledge Handbook of Male Sex Work, Nothing About Us Without Us.
Thank you, Benjamin. That was a beautiful text. Okay. And I miss you. I'm going to read an excerpt from my memoir in progress. This is from chapter 7. This is essentially my sex worker origin story. I don't have one. This is from the East Village in 2003. Just go. You're too emotionally unavailable. This is as available as I get. Like a lurker in my former life, I moved into a sublet just a few blocks away from my now ex. I didn't want my messy history figuring into how I handled this breakup. I tried playing the grown-up, sober, accepting my part, avoiding melodrama. That said, I couldn't help but seek passive revenge by getting buff. I quickly stripped off those relationship hounds running around Tompkins Square and waiting my turn at the pull-up bar with the local chulos. I'd handle this breakup without any fights, defensive posturing, or character assassination. I'd say goodbye with a bicep flex and a big smile. Soon after moving in, I realized that one of my less tech-savvy neighbors had an unprotected Wi-Fi signal, so I was online for free. I held on to my AOL account from the days of dial-up. There were still dozens of busy gay chat rooms for dating, for out-of-towners, for hooking up now, MSN Dungeon for bisexuals from the stores, and at least 3 rooms for escorts, coyly named companions. The gay vibe was so evident that snarky users had started calling the platform GayOL. It gave that upbeat announcement by the anonymous vocal actor a new inflection. Welcome, you've got mail. I posted photos of my newly buff body and was getting a good amount of play. I set out to take on the neighborhood one internet-mediated conquest at a time. Through the dense web of NSA hookups and romances, it seemed that just about every gay guy was one degree of separation from the next, a sexual ecosystem I wanted in on. Word would get back to my ex, no doubt. Horny UWS was a guy I passed on repeatedly, mostly because he lived uptown. He was more persistent than most. After dozens of chats trying to arrange a meeting, he offered to pay. I was alone, out of work, and facing a rent bill. No one need know. After all, he lived on the Upper West Side, a universe away. I hadn't had a reason to go back uptown for years. His persistence was flattering in light of my recent breakup. He was willing to pay for what Jay had dumped on the street. I took the subway uptown and met the guy, a pleasant, middle-aged antiques dealer with a dog, a lover, and a house in New York. I'm the top in our relationship, but every once in a while I want to, flip the script, he confessed. Okay, and your partner? Oh, he can't be bothered. After getting into it, I could understand his partner's reluctance. It was a real chore. He was super hairy and had a tendency to tense up completely at the first hint of penetration. But I persevered, like a trailblazer through dense jungle, and got it done. How much do I owe you? I stammered. How much do I owe you? I stammered. He emptied his wallet and said, here, you're better than those other guys. For a half-hour sexual encounter I might have had voluntarily, I had cash for a week. Andres' glib comment on the crosstown bus after meeting the decorator echoed back at me, this time with the thrill of new possibility instead of confusion. You just turned your first trick. I headed home with a stack of 20s and a business plan. Being a full-time escort was a spellbound underground period. I used a pirated signal and conjured up an income out of pixels. The day-to-day was about as glamorous as a plumber's, but it was mine. It was a decent living, or an indecent one if you prefer, in which I conducted myself honestly. I can think of far more dishonest and hurtful things people did for money in the noughts. I offered satisfaction of longings, pleasure, intimate touch. I provided value. For all my emotional detachment, I sought to instill my work with a sincere measure of love, and this helped redeem that capacity after my fraught time with the decorator. Our relationship had not been fully devoid of love, but it was too hard to be loving through the deceptions and the impairments, his and mine alike. I practiced love on my clients, and I needed to practice after all those years with a man at the bottom of a crystal tumbler. I loved them for their strange and specific longings. I loved figuring them out when they couldn't. I loved them for inviting me into their homes. I loved them for their libidos. I loved their hotel rooms. I get to introduce A. Light Zachary. A. Light Zachary is an autistic and bi-gender writer in Canada. recently awarded fellowships for their poetry by the Lambda Literary Foundation and the Banff Center for the Arts. Light is also a teacher of writing, a consulting editor, and director of the Curated. Their next publication will be I Build It Better, a chapbook of poems and augmentations to be published with Rahila's Ghost Press in December. Light.
Epicene, Anthropocene, Pulicene. I mean, as B put it, when I say I'm bigender, I mean I'm both the dog fucker and the dog. I mean, my coyote in the doorway. I mean, may I outdance epistemology? My name is Light, and for a visual description, I am beautiful, multi-gendered, and clad in monochrome. It is nice to be astral projecting into the village in New York City, which was an important place to me at one point, although I live in Canada and haven't left this house in 2 years. I'm sharing 3 poems from my book in progress, including the one you've just heard. Let's go. My second poem is called Two Girls, and I wrote it for every other trans and non-binary person who survived my hyper-conservative all-boys prep school and how we found each other. Two girls. Somewhere, 2 girls are kissing for the first time on the bathroom floor in a dark suburban basement. They are both pretending to be boys for one another, for themselves, for everyone, but they are 2 girls kissing for the first time on the bathroom floor in a dark suburban basement, while classmates, holding beery teenage piss, bang on the door and urge them hurry. They lift the bottom halves of their boy masks to free their lips, flushed pink and sparkling, to free the soft of their liquor-wet tongues and taste something of their truth in the sticky roots of the other's teeth, finding what they had not previously recognized in their own heads, and finding it too great to do anything with but break into easy, dissociable pieces. Soon, the boys they pretend to be will get up and through separate exits leave the party. The girls they really are will be left behind. They will remain there, kissing on the floor after the party ends and as the suburb sleeps. After school starts up again next week and the boys they pretend to be pass in the hallway silently. They will remain there for 5 or 10 or 50 years after their friend's parents' house is sold and everybody has moved away and on with life. After the boys have grown into pretend men, even as they walk around empty, having so long ago left behind their spirits. 2 girls, still kissing for the first time as shadows on the floor in the windowless room. The thing about doing a Zoom reading into a room full of people is like, I hear like little bits of clapping and I don't know when to start talking again. And that, see, I just heard a laughter for like a millisecond. This is really weird. Well, this is the most people I've talked to in months. The third poem is a much older poem. I wrote this when I was really young. I'm still really young, but I was reading this over last night. I realized I'm still proud of it all these years later. This is called Friday Nights at the Bigender Drive-In, and it's about my favorite imaginary movies. A movie called Alien versus Predator, in which we go back in time to fight everyone who hurt us when we were young. A movie called Cowboys versus Aliens about watching our backs at the club. A movie called Village of the Damned about our neighborhood. a version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers that is sympathetic to the body snatchers. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which is about how we need to teach everyone we meet to communicate. A remake of The Island of Dr. Moreau that portrays it as an elite medical tourism destination. A remake of Escape to Witch Mountain. A movie called The Thing. Your Name versus the World. A movie called They Live. My name is Light. Thank you for your attention. I need it to live. I now have the honor of introducing Jet Toomer. Jet Toomer is a writer and community organizer and eternal critic. She is, of course, one of this year's Lambda Fellows and an MFA candidate at Columbia University. Born in Alphabet City on New York's Lower East Side, she now lives in Harlem. Jet can be found at isdabes.com and across social media at isdabes, but she's coolest on Instagram. Jet made such a brilliant impression on all of us with her reading during the Lambda retreat, and I'm excited to hear her again. Welcome, Jet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Light. Looking at you. I am a tallish, very beautiful, dark-skinned Black woman wearing very expensive yaki hair and very exclusive, hard to get circular sunglasses that I just pretend are reading glasses. I'm reading a poem. Well, I'm not reading a poem, but it's still, I'm reading something, I am reading something very new that is a part of a living document that doesn't have a name. Do not come out to your mother if you know better. You will be 17 years old, weeks before you get a dyke haircut, and months before your girlfriend invites you to her apartment in New Jersey. Don't talk to your mother anyway. Not about those things. That's okay too. It makes you both uncomfortable. Plus, you're lying to yourself about who you are to everyone you think may want to fuck you. At 17 years old, there is not much to tell, but you will know everything. You will have mastered obliviousness, and your reward will be a veil. Then one day, after weeks of planning, you will emerge from a dreamlike state, fuzzy from all the good shit inhaled in a Midtown East Manhattan orthodontist office. You will be dumb. Those 4 impacted nuggets have just been ripped out. And you will believe you are safe and smart and veiled. Aha! No, nigga, you are not. Your sister tried to tell you in her chicken scratch scrawled onto yellow legal paper torn from mommy's pad and stuffed into an envelope. She says and writes something intimate and illegible, and because you know so much, you forget. You sit your ass on that sofa, and like a fool, you come out to your mom, who has known about your attractions and has actively ignored them for years. This moment will haunt you, and you will never forgive yourself. And that is where you learn how to relocate errors onto her. It's gotta be someone's fault. First though, you will act like it has never happened. Then as you remember, you will try to forget. This will look different every year, but as the time forges on and you change, and you will, the blame will shift and eventually it will be no one's problem but your own. And you will no longer shoulder the blame. When the time comes, you will compile a list of who did what and when, maybe even where. You'll look at this blotter of loved ones who have fucked you over, and your present self and your 17-year-old self will decide how to report it out. Luckily, you've been compiling research for years. You look at the cork board your mother gave you in high school with that quote from Thoreau tagged in the center. The stop bush pins, the mini rainbow flag from before you understood pride, and you will remember. Here's the comedy. Mommy, your sister, They will remember too, but no one says a thing. Until one day when you tell them your plans on becoming a writer. One will hope and pray for some relief. The other will be excited. But you keep getting them mixed up, and now for some reason that you scared. You think they can handle the retelling from your point of view. You write it like this first, and it will be the best way too. Quote, I say, Mommy, I have something to tell you. I like girls. She says, crying, I know, but I don't understand why you didn't tell me first. I say, nothing. And that will be how you end your perfect little story about how, though she is good, she made you feel bad. You will not say what's really bothering you because you're not sure you'll be able to write about that. But here's what I might do. 1, add some $25 words in some thick, clunky, but charismatic sentences hours before it is somehow due. 2, do this again, only tailor the audience. They will study you on Instagram and know for sure that you are their representative. 3, one more time, except make it more Baroque. Begin to distance and hide a new audience. Who this? Later, when looking squarely into the eyes of a lie detector, you will get this sensation of just finishing up a sob session, and then you will write this. Do not share. Thank you. Introducing the fabulous organizer of this event and my friend Court. Court Stroud's work focuses on the clash and fusion of cultures. His writing appears in the New York Times, Washington Post, Forbes, and other publications. As an adjunct, he's taught at Columbia, NYU, and Fordham, often about diversity in media and advertising. In 2019, Stroud received a New York Press Association First Place Award for an obituary about pioneering comic Bob Smith. He worked at Univision, Telemundo, Azteca, and CBS. Welcome, Court Stroud.
Before I get started, I just want to say how grateful I am. When I started to think about this and I talked to Sue about it, I wasn't sure that anyone would show up. And there's 35 people in this room, and I'm not used to being around 35 people, and so I'm both a little scared and a little delighted and a little just overjoyed to be around human beings again. So thank you all for coming. So I'm a ginger in a black bowling shirt with twinkling eyes and a shy smile. I named this flash fiction piece Cat Call. Leave a message after the beep. Hey, Nigel, you lie. Queen, I did not kill your pussy. She died by suicide, I swear. Honest to God, it just breaks my heart, honey, that when you returned from your fabulous vacation, Miss La-di-da wasn't there to welcome you with her usual 12 meow salute. Wish I could have stayed at your place to tell you, but I was running late to my Pilates class. Girl, summer's only 6 months away, and my big white behind needed a workout. You got my Post-it note, right? Oh, seriously, Nigel, like maybe I'm not the best pet sitter, and maybe I should have cleaned up that pile of skanky dishes in the kitchen sink. But since breaking out of rehab, I've had a rough few months, especially because of this freaking socialist pandemic. My body, my choice, my liberty. I refuse to wear a mask not made of mud. About your precious pet, like I told you, it's not my fault. Can I help it that while I was taking a shower, she decided to dip into the open baggie on the coffee table? Maybe your little girl wouldn't have gotten all up into my business if you kept some catnip around. Think of how horrible it was for me. There I am, shaving off a few stray chest hairs while grooving to that Savage remix with Megan Thee Stallion and Beyonce. That song is fierce. My little soul just standing at attention, just thinking about it. Well, I got out of the bathroom and started trying off my sexy self. Me and the boys were going to meet up at dancing at Gomorrah. You know, this hot underground party under the Brooklyn Bridge. And then I had to deal with your ugly tragedy. Sweet Jesus on a toothpick. When I found Lottie Daw, her black paws were covered in powder and she was shaking bad. I picked her up. Her heart was racing. She was burning up too. And then her eyes rolled all up back into her head for reals. I started washing out her little tiny mouth. Finally, I stuck my pinky finger down her throat to make her gag, you know, like the supermodels do. But it was too late. She twitched one more time and peed all over my Gucci jeans. I had to do another 2 lines just to stop crying. I pulled myself together and got a taxi to meet Richard and Jordan. And so you know, I arrived an hour late and those hoes were fuming. New York's finest raided the place, but my boys missed the strip search because I had to clean up your little problem. Look, I'm sorry your cat OD'd on my watch, but Nigel, I didn't know what to do. Growing up in Alabama, we buried pets in the backyard. But in Chelsea, New York, nothing but concrete for miles around, except that bone ugly flower bed in front of your building. And it was nearly 2 a.m. and 22 degrees outside. Besides, your doorman probably would have caught me hauling that dead feline through the lobby. What else could I do but wrap Miss Lottie Dot in a towel and shove her up in the freezer? You came home the next day. Hey, what's the 411 on your trip? We simply must keep you. I hear you almost drowned on that gay cruise boat that sank. I want all the dish from Puerto Vallarta, the rice, the beans, the whole enchilada. But you won't return my messages. Come on, Queen, it's been 2 whole weeks already. I miss my BFF. So Trampolina, I'll keep your keys for the next time you need me to watch your place. Now quit your hissy fit, call me back. Or slip into my Insta DMs, okay? Kiss, kiss. A huge thank you. A huge thank you to the 11 brilliant queer writers who joined me in sharing their art tonight. Producer Tracey Smith, Tech Director Will Arredondo, ASL interpreters Reaves and Juana Aguilar, the City of New York, and the city artists for Lambda Literary, especially Nicole Shawan Jr. and Sue Landers, who's here with us. The LGBT Center, especially Sam, Kylie LaRoche, and Gabrielle Parofalana. And to all of you, thank you for attending. Peace and blessings.